Hello, everybody, again. Old Buck Dave, episode 156, I believe. Back with you know who. Talk to me.
156 in climbing, and that one, and your podcast partner is none other than old Buck Dale.
Old Buck Dale. Good to talk to you again.
Yep.
Good to talk.
Good
We're
to be in
still
touch.
we're still geographically separated here. I'm still enjoying the weather up here in Nashville. It's just been spectacular. Sorry.
Well, for those around the world or anybody who might not know the difference is a wall of humidity, a a definitely a wall of humidity that's so pervasive it's almost like you have to plow through it. It's that thick. So I'm in that, and he's in comfortable weather, and anyhow,
That's the way I like
I'm
it.
happy for Dave.
I'm sad for you, but what are you going to do? Hey, so why don't we start off talking about some letters we got? We've got a bunch of letters, and you want to lead off with the letter we got? We got some responses to our 10 hours of sitting article.
Actually, that did something I think we owe our listeners or regular listeners to clarify, and certainly give a response to one of our regular listeners, which we call Ranger Rick. But I would like to also introduce or clarify what we call a public service announcement, not to be confused
PSA.
with a PSA or a prostrate specific antigen.
Yeah, that's different.
That's a different thing entirely. But when we say that, some of course is lighthearted, and you pointed that out, and some of it is things that just happen to us that maybe someone could avoid, maybe how we circumvented a service call or something, or some of the craziness that happens to everybody, that we talk about it, and other things that we've run across that are more serious. That and a good example would be the lanternfly. I mean, we thought we would sort of send out a warning to that a long time ago, many months ago, and of course that turned out to be a bit of a problem. So the other day we were talking about sitting, and recap for us real quick, Dave, in a few words, what the sitting implied, or
Yeah, well, okay. This was a Washington Post article, which we put a link to, that was talking about that it had taken the information from a JAMA article. And what the WAPO article said was they've statistically, this study has statistically shown that looking at something like 50,000 people over 7 years, that there is a link between the number of hours you sit in a day and the likelihood of you developing dementia or a heart attack, diabetes. That's kind of the bad stuff.
okay. That's in essence what the article was about.
That's what the article said.
Sitting was a problem and could cause these things.
Yes.
Well, as an old buck, and we've talked about this over coffee, I mean, we've come to the conclusion that there are some things we might not be able to avoid over time. I mean, I've said to you that I probably have everything a man my age should have. It just isn't bad enough to kill me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so our biggest concern was, what would we avoid if we could? So how, as we age, there's all kind of programs. I mean, there's just tons of stuff out there on this. If you do this, you can stay healthier longer. If you do this kind of exercise, perhaps you won't have any joint issues. So we're trying to avoid stuff, right? You agree?
I agree.
We're trying to avoid. And what do we want to avoid?
We're trying to avoid illnesses.
Right.
That take us
what do we
out.
sometimes? What do we really want to avoid when we talk, you and I? Because we're both basically ambulatory.
We are.
What do we talk about really, really hoping to avoid?
Well, the dementia option.
The dementia option. That's exactly right. Because we've seen how that affects people, and it not only affects the individual but obviously other people. So we thought about that, and we talk about that now in the letter from Rick. He mentions that he has a lot of activities that require sitting,
Mm-hmm.
and he does spend quite a few hours doing that. Either reading, doing puzzles, other mind challenging games, and playing cards.
Hmm.
And then with a little bit of humor, he says he also rides a bike, which he considers that
Yeah.
to be sitting,
Uh,
which I don't think of that as being sitting, but
no, no,
I
that's,
got the gist of his. I mean,
yeah,
he's a clever writer.
yeah,
So, but he's concerned about that. That how can he hone his mental skills, as do I, doing puzzles and or playing cards while sitting. Is it like a two-edged sword there? No, I should be not doing the puzzles and more of this, or I should not play cards. So
right.
my thoughts, where I found playing cards, the cards that I play sometimes are with a group of people, have a specific game they play called hand and foot. You may or may not know that.
I do not
Long,
know that one, but go ahead.
it's a time consuming game, and it can
Hmm.
go as long as 3 hours depending on how the players, sort their cards out. And I find it a bit boring. In fact, I have to move periodically because my legs and lower extremities, which are somewhat deprived of circulation, troubles me. So I said, So I don't spend a lot of time playing cards. But to respond to Rick's concern, it doesn't sound to me like he mixes it up enough that sitting would not be a problem for him. But I assume someone whose job was just to sit in front of a computer screen all day and or answer phones all day, that over time that could become a problem for the some of the physical
Right,
ailments,
right.
because
And
because
he also raised the point of, he said, hey, there are some people out there that are unable to walk, that for various reasons.
aha,
They're confined to a wheelchair, or confined to using a walker, or so they've there's no option for them. I mean, so what I would say in response is look, this article does not mean that you are doomed to dementia or a heart attack if you're sitting 10 hours a day. It just says statistically, it shows that there's a link, there's a higher than random risk that
mm,
you will develop one of these conditions. But they pointed out, and they didn't say it strongly enough in the WAPO article, that there's that cause has not been proven here. It has not been proven that sitting causes these things. It could, there's a correlation, which means when you see one, you see the other, but that doesn't mean that A caused B or B caused A. Okay, there's more work needs to be done to determine that, and that's what the original JAMA article says.
well, I think we agree. All of us agree that I'm talking Rick, the three of us. I can't sit very long at all. I have it's an effort to play that long card game, but I just can't sit. I either walk around or I use my bike as a main means of transportation.
Mm-hmm.
Even though everything I need is within walking distance. And my last doctor visits, he said, "Well, did you ride your bike over?" I said, because he knows that's good exercise for me because they're checking my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "No, today I walked over because crossing the street is too dangerous with the bike." But but I personally move around a lot, and I think I get the impression Rick does too. I know you do. I
I
hardly ever hear
try.
you sitting at all on.
I try. I
Yeah,
try.
I know you try. If
And that's, I think, excuse me, that's the point that the WAPO article makes, is like, if you can get up and move, okay, do what you can to be something other than sedentary all the time. But
right,
you flashed something here earlier when you were talking about playing cards. I think there's another issue that comes with old age, and that's loneliness as you start to lose your friends and relatives. And I think having friends is probably a lot more important than how many hours you're sitting or not sitting per day. I think, so many studies have shown that people that have friends have a better and longer life. Better for sure.
Now,
Better for sure.
now that would be an interesting correlation or add to that kind of a sitting thing. For example, some of the folks in nursing homes that are still mentally pretty sharp, that are not very ambulatory at all, because they're in a social setting, they seem to do well.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree 100% that you have to make an effort to find and keep friends, and I think you have to make an effort to socialize. So playing cards is not a bad thing in my view. I mean, I sit in for the regular card players. I'm kind of a backup guy
You're a
because
backup, huh?
yeah, I
Okay.
mean, uh, they call me when a lot of the other elderly ladies don't show. But and I find it to be fun. Summer games are quicker than others, but I agree with you. The loneliness is a big problem for the elderly. If they isolate themselves, they tend to sit. If they're moving, they probably would run into somebody. So I guess the bottom line here, Dave, is I want to thank Rick for his reply. I would say to keep on doing what he's doing. I think he'll probably be as fine as the rest of us if if he's careful on his bicycle. He he can get along a long ways. But otherwise, if you can move around, you're still blessed with being ambulatory. Then just keep doing something. Hey.
Hey. And I think more importantly, hug a friend, make some friends, keep some friends.
Keep some friend, call it old friend, check in with some old friends.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyhow, I think we'll leave that.
Yeah, that was a good discussion here. It was a good discussion.
And thanks, Rick, for
we
writing.
put a little more thought into what than we normally do for some of our topics. So yeah, thanks for Rick and a couple other people that sent some notes in on that. So yeah, turned out to be good food for thought. Hey, I think the rest of this episode is going to prove to be out of this world. I mean, really out of this world. We had that supermoon discussion last week, and that seemed to spur a lot of astronomical interest in the press as well as amongst our listeners. We've gotten some notes in from people. So I got to tick off a couple things here,
Mm-hmm.
more or less in chronological order, more or less. Number one, a rocket was launched this morning, actually, this being Friday, to 16 Psyche. Now, for our listeners out there, that's not Dell's address. It's an asteroid. 16 Psyche, Psyche, is an asteroid out there in the asteroid belt, and it is it's thought to be metallic, mainly nickel, iron, and some gold and some other things. Okay. So it's thought one possibility is it's the metal core of a planet that's had its outer layers stripped away a long time ago, even before we were born. Or there could be another explanation. They're not sure. Anyway, it was launched this morning. It's got a 2.2 billion mile trip ahead of it. It's going to take 6 years. Now they're saying that this asteroid is possibly worth 10,000 quadrillion dollars for the amount of metals that it contains, if it contains that. Okay. That's a huge number, 10,000 quadrillion. That's just slightly less than the Florida homeowners insurance policy today, I guess. But yeah,
It's
so
interesting that they would
yeah,
quantify it in a financial,
yeah,
put a price on it if it's a solid
yeah. So they're all
piece of iron.
excited about that, and so yeah, that launched this morning. It was delayed a couple times, but it got off this morning, and you can Google it and watch the launch. It just looks like a launch. Everything good so far as of showtime here, and so yeah, good luck to 16 Psyche here. So we'll find out more in a couple years.
Isn't it interesting too that this is a 6-year wait.
Yeah.
6 years, and after this last touchdown on an asteroid, apparently there are people whose job is to monitor this thing and kind of guide it.
Mm-hmm.
and they're
Yeah.
steering it, and it's like their job is to watch this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I never even think about that. Of course, the day it lands or does something, you think, oh wow, holy smokes, those folks have been
Yeah.
working for 6 years.
6 years. Yeah. That'll be like episode 500 or something like that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'd be
No, not
happy to
either.
see if I live long enough to see what is that thing's made out
Yeah.
of. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
fascinating.
guess what's going to happen tomorrow?
I don't know, what, a super moon or something.
There's going to be an eclipse tomorrow, another eclipse. This will be an annular eclipse, also sometimes called the Ring of Fire eclipse. Okay, so which means that the moon is not going to completely cover the sun. It's
Ooh,
it's actually there's going to be this kind of a ring of sun that you'll be able to see around the perimeter.
yeah, that's the pretty one. I think everybody loves to see that one. That's probably they see all the what, umbras or something.
The umbras and the penumbras and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's all different points. But the reason that it's the moon is further away from the Earth right now, so that's why. So the moon looks smaller,
Less
so,
coverage.
so less coverage. Yeah, yeah. Interestingly, like the sun is 400 times further away from the Earth than the moon, but the sun is also.
Where's that shadow going to be? Does it give a clue where that's going to pass?
Yeah, well, it's kind of it actually sweeps like looked like around Seattle or so. That sweeps down through the Midwest. Interestingly, um, Roswell, New Mexico, is in the totality band. So I don't know if the aliens rigged this or what, but
That's when they fly in.
that's when they fly. They could be coming in. They could be coming in. Yeah, yeah.
So it's sweeping a bit across the state. There'll be a number of people in America that'll be able to
It'll be
watch this.
yeah. I'll put a link to it. I think I'll put a link to it. Yeah, I'll put a link to it, but you'll have to look at it today, and the rest of us will get a partial eclipse. We'll get to see a partial. We'll get to see the daylight will dim, but it will not get black, not get dark. So
Well, the last asteroid that they collected
yeah,
the stuff from, and
yeah. Let's talk
I
about
guess
that one.
obviously that was I mean, I'm pretty sure that they had a camera on it when it touched down, but the other, showing it from a side view or something, obviously it must have been computer generated. But the way I gathered that worked, this probe either bumped from inertia, or it was primed to make some kind of a jarring movement, but it just had to do it to stir up the debris on that asteroid, and it enveloped the
It sucked in a little sample. It had
yeah, yeah, and it's closed. A lid closes on this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it somehow gets back out of there and heads back towards Earth, and then ejects this thing, and it makes the way down and it lands quietly in the desert, and there they go.
Yeah.
And then they're saying that they're showing the rudimentary traces of water, and of course,
Water and carbon. Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
So yeah, that's the one theory is that's how Earth was made livable by asteroids bumping into it and leaving carbon and water and the things necessary for life. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's the asteroid is Bennu, by the way, and they took the samples in 2020. All right, so that's when it sucked its samples up.
Yeah.
So that's a 7-year project. It's gone 20 billion miles. 20 billion miles. It's done some routines and some orbits and that sort of thing.
I wanted to when I spoke to you again, I was going to tell you my mind was boggled by the math.
Mm-hmm.
I understood the mechanics of it,
Astronomical numbers. That's what they mean.
but
Yeah.
I was my mind was completely boggled by the math. I said, man, I'll have to ask Dave, how they calculated that, or how they, the numbers that are associated with making this thing work. Like I said, I understand a piece of metal can hit another piece of metal, but boy, oh boy. So all you young bucks out there, pay attention in math class.
Yeah, boy. Hey, we got another one too here. We got from another listener. We got a note on the Carrington event. You know what the
Uh,
Carrington event is?
I do not know.
I
I do
didn't
not know what that is.
till a couple days ago. It actually, so I'll read the extract from the thing that he sent me. It says the night sky lit up so bright that some people thought it was morning. Gold miners in the Rocky Mountains woke up at 1 a.m. to make breakfast, start their day. Birds began singing as if the sun had already risen. Telegraph systems worldwide went offline and no one could send a message. This was in 1859. It was known as the Carrington event, and it's thought to be the most intense geomagnetic storm observed on Earth. And it sent northern light displays as far south as Florida in Central America, knocked out communication systems. Now, this was
So,
1859. So this was, as near as they could tell, this was the largest solar flare that's been
uh-huh.
recorded. Okay, now today with all the microelectronics and that sort of things that we rely on, it could be a big problem here, and they say that there's a big one coming here someday. And there was also another an addendum to that said there was actually thought to be a larger solar flare 14,300 years ago, but there was no way to prove what was going on here. They've done some carbon 14 datings and some tree rings and some things that suggested that something happened back then. But the Carrington event is the one that the listener told us about. I thought it was pretty interesting, and
So,
I'll see if I can find a link to that.
so a solar flare of that magnitude could be pretty disruptive to the planet.
Pretty disruptive, yes, yes.
Huh. Well, it's a thought occurred to me when you said that asteroids were they seeded the Earth with their water molecules and carbon. So the asteroids came and gave life to the Earth, and the asteroids may come.
Come again, take it away. Yeah.
The
This
asteroids giveth, and the asteroids taketh away. Yeah.
Yeah, now this one that they sampled, this Benno, the one that they just got the samples from, and
Mm-hmm.
I think they got a total of like 8 ounces of sample from this thing now, and some of it they're going to keep sealed. They're not even going to they're going to take part of this material and not do anything with it. Part of it they'll send to various labs to do various kinds of experiments,
Mm-hmm.
but they're going to save some of it, leave it untouched for future generations where they would have more sophisticated equipment to do analyses, that sort of thing. So that's kind of interesting, yeah. And they say it's there's a pretty good chance that this asteroid is going to hit the Earth uh, somewhere in the 22nd century. Okay.
I'm amazed that we've missed as many as we have. I mean, I would think of all the stuff that's flying around out there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
You think. Well, I mean, we do get little
Well,
bits
again,
and pieces.
you've got to think of astronomical time. You can't think human human lifespan time, or you can't think even origin of
True.
the Earth time. It's a law. Lots of
Massive amount of math involved in all
massive,
that.
massive, a lot of zeros. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
this is
So
this stuff fascinates me. The fact that there's, I mean, again, I don't think about it too often, except when something like that collection happens, that it took several years to do that. So maybe we'll be on the moon by then. Maybe uh, I saw that 60-minute episode about how they intend to use uh, like computer printing for structures on the moon. They were able to make
I did see that. Yeah, yeah.
some kind of a sauce out of the sand that's there and print dwellings. And I thought that was fascinating that they're even that far ahead. In a way, I'm happy to know that all this stuff is at least going on uh,
Hmm.
while I'm diverted to my mundane daily tasks or something, playing cards.
Playing cards. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, hey, on a more mundane, no, this is more exciting to some people actually.
Hmm.
Did you see there's been another Bigfoot sighting?
Another Bigfoot sighting.
Yeah, somebody on a train in Colorado took a video of a creature, walking on the hillside and then sitting down. And again, who knows if it's real or not? I don't know, but there's a video of it out there. I'll put a link to. I'll put that out there as well. And when I was digging into this, I found that there is a group, and I can't remember. I didn't write down the name of the group, but they have spent half a million. Yeah, $500,000 on I think they call it the Furry Genome Project. And they've got these theories of, is a Bigfoot a human? Is it a hybrid? Because some DNA they found has been human, some has not been human. So,
Well,
somebody's kicked in $500,000 over the years to study this stuff. It's
yeah.
not taxpayer money, by the way. This is private donation. So
Well,
don't panic.
I'm going to tell you a story that only between me and you.
Okay, just between us
This is between
and our
us. Do you know how many
27,000
times?
listeners. Yeah.
Do you know how many times I've dressed in a big shaggy haired outfit and sat alongside the railroad tracks, hoping that somebody would be
Yeah,
videoing the
yeah,
scenery
yeah.
and see me. I mean, I didn't purposely wave or anything, but when the train comes by, I pretend like I'm climbing.
And so that's you, huh?
And finally, the train goes by, a little bit of video gets of me, and then I take the outfit off, put it back in the car,
All right, the mystery is solved.
and drive back out of Colorado
Mhm.
or something.
Oh gosh.
That's because they can never catch this guy. You know what I mean?
It
All the
could be.
hunters in the woods, all the,
Yeah.
no stone unturned anywhere in America, and yet they can't run
It's
into
very
this guy.
puzzling, isn't it? Very
Can't
puzzling.
find his house.
Can't find it. And he's everywhere. He's in Pennsylvania, he's in
Yeah.
Colorado, he's in Alaska.
I mean, hell, I can't even cross a 4-lane highway without being careful, and yet he's able to make that kind of travel. So
Who knows? Who knows? I'm
who
not
knows?
saying there's no Bigfoot. I mean, we're going to have a fellow on here down the road who's kind of a Bigfoot expert.
As an expert.
So we'll see what he has to say. I remain I'm skeptical, but open-minded on that. Yeah.
I'm a wait and see guy.
Wait and see. Yeah. Okay.
We've covered a little the gamut of interesting stuff here today.
Yes, we have.
So lastly but not leastly, I would just want to say I have not been able to find a decent book to read since you gave me the last one. So anybody's got any suggestions on some good reads, don't hesitate to give us a contact.
Yeah, and we've got VV1 there. She's waiting in the wings here to give a book review. So
okay, I'm
if
looking forward to that. She's listening.
Yeah. We're putting you on the spot here. Yeah. Hey, speaking of on the spot, another last thing here.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember Mary Meany, who we interviewed a while back with respect to the town in France, Saint Omer, that took in 500 Ukrainian refugees, and she kind of was a main organizer of all this, and she's just really full of piss and vinegar. She's a terrific person. She just did a TEDx talk called "Leading Without Authority," which describes the efforts and what some of the things that she had to do to make all this happen. So we'll put a link to that to a video I've heard. It's only 12 minutes. It's an interesting talk, so I recommend that to anybody. And having said that,
that sounds like the cue.
That sounds like a cue.
Sounds like the cue for Old Buckdale to say thank you so much, people, for listening. And this is Old Buckdale saying, we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, this is Old Buck Dave saying the same thing. It's been a good day today. We talked about a lot of astronomical stuff and some earthly stuff, and I look forward to more next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.